Hey there, this is Chris Sev with Better Dev, and if you've been following this channel, you know that I am a huge fan of Tailwind. Tailwind's made me incredibly productive as far as CSS and designing. I have a course at beginnertailwind.com, and I am so excited to see Tailwind version 3 out. We had to do this video. Here are my favorite features of Tailwind version 3. So here I am on their announcement page. You can go to the Tailwind website, visit this link at the top, and you get to their changelog. And here's all the great things that are coming out of the box, but I wanted to point out some of my favorites. So let's get started. Here, just in time, all the time, I have a video on this, but basically it is the way that Tailwind's compiler can let us do arbitrary values. We can make custom colors and all sorts of fun stuff. And now it is out of the box. It is turned on. Before we had to turn it on, it was behind a feature flag in our tailwind.config.js. You don't really need to know about it all that much now because it's already on by default, and it makes our bundle sizes really small, makes our builds really fast. So let's get into some of the actual features in here. Colored box shadows, I think, is a really fun one to talk about. So let's say I have this CodePen, and I have a black background, a teal border. And by the way, one of the other features in Tailwind v3 is all of the colors are on by default. So I don't have to go into my Tailwind config to add teal or orange or amber, whatever the other colors are. They're all on by default. So here I have a border of teal 500. You can see over here on the left. To add a box shadow, I would just do shadow, let's say 2XL. And that adds in a black shadow here, but we can't see it because we're on a black background. What we want to say here is let's see if we can get a colored background, which is new, colored box shadow, which is new to Tailwind v3. I can say shadow teal 500. And that will add a teal shadow right there. But you're noticing that this is a little jarring. It's a little bit strong. What you can do is do a / and you can pass in the opacity of this box shadow. So let's say I wanted this to be around 50%. There we go. So that's a nice kind of teal neon-y glow. I'll do the same for the button here. I'm going to go for shadow, let's say large, because it's a smaller button. And let's do the same color as the border, shadow yellow 300. And let's do maybe 30% because it is a smaller button. And there you go. So just by adding these two classes, it gives a nice subtle effect, maybe a little bit of a neon effect, but much better than the default black backgrounds that we've had. All right, my next favorite feature is the text decoration updates. Here, normally we can say underline, and that would get us an underline on this word right here, the amazing. But now we have a couple cool options. We can do decoration, double, and that gives us a double underline. And then we can also do decoration, let's say blue at 400. So you can color the text decoration. Another favorite one is we can do the same here, but let's say underline, and let's say decoration wavy. This is a fun one. So we basically make a little wavy thing, which would have been a pain to make if we did it ourselves, but we can also do decoration, let's say purple at 500 for this one. And there we go. So a fun, subtle way to add a little bit of decoration. You can add it to the span tags, but probably more appropriate is to add it to A tags because they would be links. And that would be a way to really say, hey, come click this button over here. All right, so the next feature we're going to talk about is columns. Now, this is something that was traditionally been hard to do in CSS and JavaScript. If you wanted to do, let's say, a masonry grid, kind of Pinterest style, you would have to do all kinds of calculations. Here, we just say columns 3. And that gives us columns, and Tailwind will go ahead and auto-fit things into the columns. So this is a really fun one to see, really nicely done. I love how you can just add a class to the parent div, just like you would for CSS Grid, CSS Flexbox classes in Tailwind. Really nice to see in columns as well. The next one is videos. So aspect for video, normally I would do the calculation myself, like width is, 1080 pixels, 1920 pixels. Height would be like 1080. but it would get weird if you wanted to calculate different aspects. So here you just do aspect video. And Tailwind will say, okay, I will set the height accordingly, and you don't have to worry about it. Really small thing there, but actually really helpful for when you need it. And the last thing I want to talk about here is going to be the Tailwind Play CDN. So up until now, if you wanted to use Tailwind, you had to include the entire CSS style sheet, which you would do using a link tag with a rel of style sheet. And this would have a couple downsides. We wouldn't get tree shaking. We wouldn't get some features out of the box. Like, let's say we want to do custom colors, or we wanted to do just in time with custom heights or widths. The Play CDN is a really fun project that I've seen floating around, but it's cool to see it as part of the Tailwind core, where basically you add in a script tag instead of a CSS tag, and this script tag will look through your HTML and say, oh, they have these classes enabled. Let me give a CSS style sheet for just these classes. So it's like just in time for your browser, but right inside of your HTML file. So what's really cool about this is all features for Tailwind are enabled if you use this. Like you can do even hover, pseudo classes. You can even do all the other classes like odd, colon, and stuff like that. But what's cool is all of these code pens that we talked about already have been using the Play Tailwind CDN. So if I go to the settings right here, notice that cdn.tailwind.css is added as a JavaScript. But if I go to my CSS, I don't have the Tailwind CSS style sheet here. Really cool way to bring all of the Tailwind features to a bunch more different places in browser. And if you're working locally and you just have an HTML file, you don't have to bring in a full post CSS setup. You can just add the Play Tailwind CDN and you're off to the races. So all in all, really great lineup of improvements to Tailwind. Tailwind was already great. And the cool thing about it is all of our previous code is still valid Tailwind. They did a great job with backwards compatibility. There's some other fun ones like Scroll Snap API, which I want to play with more. The print modifier, which is very important, but I would say I don't use it too much, but it is very important to have. All in, very good update. Congrats to the team for the big update. Go check out their YouTube channel. They've done a great launch video. Lots of work went into that. So thanks for watching. And if you did this video, please check out the article below and the website better.dev. Thanks for watching.